Does marketing yourself feel like an endless tornado of tactics? You're just trying to muster, what do I post on LinkedIn? Meanwhile, you're watching other people in your industry and beyond produce books, get major engagements, really out there building their authority. You're thinking, I want more of that and way less staring at the computer, wondering what to put on social media. If that's you, you're going to love today's episode. I'm going to teach you how we stop stressing about the tactic tornado and start building authority by building your body of work. By the end of this episode, you'll have a simplified 4-step path to start building a body of work that will make you memorable, referable, in demand, and not stuck figuring out what to post tomorrow. Let's do it. Welcome to the Establish Yourself podcast, the show that helps coaches and consultants get clear on how to talk about what you do, simplify your offers, and have more fun in your business and beyond. I'm Annie Franceschi, brand strategist, author, former Disney storyteller, and forever Muppet fan. I'm here to help you clarify your message, package your expertise, and streamline your systems to grow a business you actually enjoy. If you're ready for less confusion and more magic, it's time to establish yourself. So, what's the difference between posting and building authority? In my experience, it's building a body of work. I'm somebody with multiple books, big speaking engagements, and a whole ecosystem, an entire body of work. All the big things you see me doing now started from the tiniest Lego bricks. And today I want to teach you how all that works and how you can start to build those Lego bricks of your own. Here are 4 simple steps to building a valuable body of work so you can step out of the tactic tornado and start becoming known and proud of sharing your voice. You don't need to do all these steps all at once, but they do build on each other. And I have used them myself. I literally took this and documented what I have been doing the past 11 years to build the ecosystem that I have. I'm going to be sharing with you my best practices on how to become more known, sought after, and clear in your voice without overthinking it. The first step is to curate what inspires you. Last fall, I had a client named Sarah. We were working together in my Magic Strategy program to help her put together a signature talk. She had volunteered to speak to our networking group, but was feeling a little nervous because she hadn't quite done speaking that positioned her as an executive coach. We had already clarified her offer and her positioning, how she talks about what she does. But when we sat down to sort of outline the talk, she got stuck. She didn't have a framework or a book to pull from. She asked me, is it okay to quote other people and use other people's work? I love this question because what she was really asking, do I have permission to share things that aren't 100% original to me? And the answer, yes. I think that that's where most of us start. What I told Sarah and what I'm going to tell you today is that it's not about not having something original to say. It's curating and pulling in resources and folks that inspire you, ways of thinking and research that you admire. I passed on a bit of that permission to Sarah, and she went out to build an incredible talk where she wove in some of what she thinks with other folks that she admires. And now, almost a year later, she's thriving. She's found her own voice and she started a fantastic Substack called I Make the Rules. I'll put a link to it if you want to check it out. But all of that started with being willing to ask the question, that one stretch, giving herself permission to curate and contribute when she wasn't quite sure what her unique voice was yet. Most people think building a body of work means creating everything from scratch with no help, no inspiration, and that it's not any good if you're borrowing from things you've learned before. This is not true. I specifically want you to start by sharing what has moved you, what you find compelling, what has helped you in your career or your path. I want you to highlight the books, the quotes, the frameworks, the metaphors, the voices that have helped shape how you do what you do. This could look like giving a talk where you quote other people, a blog post you write where you showcase your 5 favorite books in your field, a LinkedIn post where you share a quote and why it resonates with you. One book that really helped my mindset with this very early on is called Steal Like an Artist by Austin Kleon. Sarah was struggling with this idea of, can I talk about other people's work? And I love what Austin Kleon has to say about this. He says, steal like an artist. Artists don't create in a vacuum. They remix, they reframe, they curate, they give appropriate credit, and they make things their own. They are the sum of all the things that inspire them. So, why are we as coaches and consultants and service business owners putting so much pressure on ourselves to not bring in those artistic inspirations, bring in the things that inform our work? That is what helps us start on this path to having our own voice. So, I want you to start there, to give yourself permission to curate and point directly to your inspirations. That is completely fine. And you don't have to have all this figured out right away because clarity comes from action. Which leads me to the second step. Define and document your perspective. Once you get in the habit of sharing more of what you love, you're going to start to notice what you believe. And I want you to get in the habit of writing it down. Say these things out loud, post them, talk about them. One of my favorite reminders for this is a framework from someone else. Yes, I'm about to go practice what I just taught you in step 1. Even 11 years into the work I do, I'm going to quote other people. So I want to point you to a framework called PQRS from Kev Michael and his podcast, Chief Audience Officer. When you're like, Annie, well, what the heck would I even talk about? I want you to consider PQRS. You open up your calendar, you look at the past week or 2 weeks, and you look for these 4 things. P, problems you solved. So did you help a client figure something out? Q, questions you answered. Was anyone asking you anything about the work you do? R, realizations you've had. As you've been sitting with more of your inspiration, have you realized anything? Have you learned anything about a larger truth or a larger argument? And last but not least, S, stories you've lived. Was there anything that happened in the work you do, or maybe just at the grocery store, that relates to how you help your clients? That is your material. PQRS, that's how you're going to define and document what you really believe. Step 3 is where things are going to get a little uncomfortable, and that's by design. I want you to stretch. I want you to test out putting yourself in an uncomfortable position. I want you to pick one way this week to share your perspective in public. This doesn't have to be massive, but it's just enough to put something of tension, a deadline, a goal, accountability on your calendar. You could volunteer to speak at a community event. You could create a newsletter post. You could record a short video that you put on LinkedIn. You could publish a blog post on your website. This is a version of what Sarah did. She threw up her hand to speak in front of a group of women and then probably wanted to throw up after she did that. But having that date with Destiny on the calendar forced her to take that first step to going down this rabbit hole of defining what she believed, putting together an initial signature talk based on her original inspirations. This is also what my client Wendy has done from a totally different angle. For the better part of a decade, Wendy was known as a slide design and presentation expert, and she has successfully pivoted to being an in-demand belonging consultant who now works with clients like Nintendo and Blue Cross Blue Shield. But when Wendy wanted to move from presentations to the world of belonging, she had to build this bridge, this body of work. So she started first with research and learning about belonging and reading everything she could and diving into what others have said. Then she did a survey. The survey became her best-selling book, The Energy of Belonging. That book has now become talks and a read-along and experiences that have raised her credibility and successfully allowed her to be seen and to become known for the thing that she wants in this season of her career. Now, that magic does not happen overnight. And that's really my point. It starts with putting yourself in one uncomfortable position, a stretch for you, because that's going to be enough pressure to let your voice come out. Sometimes we need to create a little tension. Say yes to the talk, sign up to teach the workshop, because it forces us to define what we believe and to say it out loud. Okay, that was step 3, which is to take on one visibility challenge. Last but not least, step 4 is to create a consistency container. Here's where we're going to let all this work start to snowball in smart and simplified ways. I want to encourage you to be thinking about creating a consistency container. I have a whole episode that deep dives on it, but basically, a consistency container is a repeatable commitment that you make to showing up and sharing your voice. This is how I simplify my marketing. I create a system that forces me to create a weekly or monthly newsletter, a podcast like what you're listening to, a live in person workshop series, a recurring video or YouTube channel, a marketing system where you commit to showing up regularly. That could be weekly, every other week, monthly, something that you're going to do consistently because you've built up your strength now by taking on that visibility challenge, right? It's where it's going to get more uncomfortable. I'll give you an example. Branding with Annie, my monthly workshop series, was my first consistency container. I did it for 4 years, and the whole notion of it was I needed to get out there and speak and get known in my area, but I didn't know what I was going to talk about. So I was literally building the plane as I flew it. I was saying, okay, every month I'm going to teach branding best practices. The first one was business cards. I think the next one was brand voice. I just kept picking things that I knew I wanted clients for. And sure enough, every time, probably that morning, I was finishing the deck and forcing myself to create these new talks. Well, what was kind of cool about that and the pressure of that was, ooh, I have new talks. I have 10 different talks on different topics related to the work I do. Guess what was so much easier? Speaking for other groups. Yes, I have the perfect talk to come and do for that, right? So I would use it and repurpose it constantly in my speaking. And then years later, when I thought I'm going to write a business book, where did I start? I went back to my growing body of work. I went through all of those talks that I only created because I put myself under pressure. Those became some of the underlying truths and arguments and best practices that you see show up in the book Establish Yourself that came out in 2022. And spoiler alert, what I'm literally sharing with you right now. I didn't know it was going to be a consistency container. I figured this out by forcing myself to. That is the genius of creating a body of work. When you create a body of work this way and you worry less about getting it right versus getting it down, nothing is lost. Everything can be repurposed and built upon time and time again. This podcast is another good example of this. I went into this year in 2025 committing to do one episode, committing to doing one episode every week for a year. I looked at the math the other day. So far, I've produced 9 hours of content. That is basically another book. But I didn't have to write it all at once. I've built this episode by episode. And by putting that pressure on myself, like, this is coming out on Tuesday morning. I'm going to be honest with you. Thursday, Friday of last week, I was like, what am I going to talk about today? And this bubbled up for me and helped me crystallize what do I believe about building a body of work. Buckle up because everything is meta around here, right? That's why I love the idea of you creating one of your own consistency containers to give yourself structure and accountability to build your body of work while you figure it out. This can have a really powerful snowball effect because the more you share what you believe, the easier that this muscle becomes. The better you're going to become known, and the more you're going to be able to repurpose things. I wish I had known that at the very beginning when I was staring on the blank page of my newsletter or on LinkedIn, that if I really force myself to start sharing my voice, this all becomes easier and more useful, more valuable, and more likely to be like that magnet we all want when we're trying to put something cool on LinkedIn. We want people to see us, to know us, to trust us, so we can help them transform their business, their lives, or both. I know this is tricky, and that's why I'm doing this call to arms, this pep talk today, because committing to this work takes time. It takes months and years, not days and weeks. And putting in the reps, putting in the time, in my experience, that's what separates the average citizens from the Marvel superheroes. That's the flex that's going to make you visible, memorable, referable. And on that note, I'm going to come back to you next week and dive even more into this. So today we talked about 4 simplified steps to make your marketing matter and start building some momentum by creating a body of work. Next week, I'm going to show you what to do with it, how to take what you create and what you talk about and turn it into branded frameworks, formulas, and methods that are going to help you get known, remembered, and referred. And in just a moment, I'm going to recap those first 4 steps for building a body of work. But if this episode has gotten you thinking, this sounds amazing, but I don't even know how to talk about what I do yet or what I'm really offering, I've got you covered. I do offer free 20-minute clarity consultations. We can take a closer look at where you are, and I can help you pinpoint your next step, whether that's needing to clarify your message or figuring out what your consistency container needs to be. If you'd love to connect with me live, head to greateststorycreative.com/consult to book a free time to talk with me. I'll make sure the link is in the show notes. And now let's bring it all together today and give you those fantastic 4 steps to building your body of work. Step 1, curate what inspires you. Take permission that you don't have to start with having this all figured out. Step 2, define and document your perspective. Remember, use PQRS to find your voice and know more of what to talk about. Step 3, take on a visibility challenge. Choose to stretch yourself with something public, uncomfortable, but worthwhile. Step 4, when you've built that muscle up a little bit more, create your consistency container. Make a commitment to make content regularly and let the challenge create the magic over time. I got to tell you, from my own experience, your authority isn't going to be built in one brilliant moment. It's going to come from the sum of your voice, your stories, your insight, your body of work. Come find me on LinkedIn if you are starting something or sharing something. I'm going to encourage you. Second guessing ourselves keeps us quiet. Putting our work out in the world is uncomfortable. Not everyone's going to like it. Maybe some days we're not even going to like it. But where we find momentum is not in knowing the perfect thing to create, but having the courage to create it and share it in the first place. I'm here to cheer you on, and I know you've got this. Hey, do you like surprises? The credits are about to roll, but just like a Marvel movie, stick around to the end for something I put in just for you. Thanks for listening to the Establish Yourself podcast. I'm Annie Franceschi, and if you're enjoying the show, it would mean so much to me if you follow it, leave a quick rating, or share it with a friend. And for free branding resources and more ways to work together, head to greateststorycreative.com/podcast. Now here it is, your moment of magic. I have a very special guest. Who are you?
Longtime listener, first-time caller. This is Gus Franceschi, your husband, father of your son, etc.
Oh yeah, I've seen you around. You have a new project. Do you want to tell the people about it?
It's called Gus Times 3. I have 1 episode on YouTube. It's my batch of 3 things at a time to share what inspires me with the peoples.
Yeah, I was thinking of you because you're at the very beginning of this process, which is creating something and not knowing what's going to come of it. Because too often we celebrate the fruits of all of this labor many years from now, whenever you become a YouTube influencer and then I'm riding on your coattails. But today, do you have 2 subscribers?
And as you said, you're not even sure that you're one of them. So
I'm not. I'll have to go follow this after. And I'll be sure to put your link in the show notes because I'm a good wife and partner. But thank you guys for coming on and demonstrating not even the messy middle, but the struggling start, the hopeful start. Maybe let's rebrand that.
There you go.
The smart start.
Like, follow, and subscribe.